Hi, everybody. This is Samantha from the law offices of Samantha Wolfe. We're located at 20 East 6th Street in Suite 206 in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. And you can reach us at 717-655-2676. And I'm excited this afternoon because I have a special guest. So we like to do a series that we call Partnering with the Pros. And every couple of months or so, our office tries to pick people in the community that we think really help us fulfill our mission and hopefully kind of collaborate with them for our clients. And so we actually received a book from this person. This is Bill McCann that you're seeing on screen. And he sent us this book that's Paying for Long-Term Care. He's an author of it. He sent it to us out of the blue. I didn't know Bill before that, but he sent it along with a little note that said, we kind of have similar objectives with our businesses. Let's connect. So Bill and I had a phone call where we were able to talk a little bit about what he does, what I do, and kind of how we can help the community. And so what I wanted to do today is I get to talk to people all day long about the things that different businesses, advisors, accountants, those people can do. But I also like to tape it and put it on our YouTube channel so our clients and our referral sources also know about other services in the community. So Bill is the most recent video in our Partnering with the Pro series. And just so you know, this will be posted on our website as well as across our social media platforms and on YouTube. And if you have any questions or concerns for either Bill or myself after the presentation, you're always welcome to reach out. We'd be happy to forward the question on to Bill, or if it's something that we can answer legally, we're happy to do that. So Bill is, like I said, Bill McCann. He works for PenMar Senior Solutions, and he's considered a senior transition specialist. So welcome, Bill. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let's dive right in. So tell me a little bit about PenMar Senior Solutions, what you guys do, what you can offer to the community. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, back in 2020, towards the end of 2020, my wife and I started noticing some of the difficulties and stress that families were going through when one of their loved ones had some sort of medical situation to where they needed to go into long-term uh, care. And it may have been that the doctor said, they cannot go home by themselves. They need to have somebody to take care of them. And if the families can't let them move in with them and they need to go into long term care, that's kind of where we come in. And typically it's going to be a senior. And for whatever reason, they need to go into this long term care facility. Well, during this time, my wife, Dawn, was working at a senior living facility, and she was able to witness from the inside some of the struggles, the stresses that the families were going through, trying to get their loved one moved in, but also take care of everything on the outside, what to do with the house, what to do with the stuff, there's so much involved. Uh, so because of that, we started looking into it more. We started to notice some of our friends were running into these situations, and our parents are also getting to that age where they could potentially need some sort of assisted living.
Mhm.
And so that's the basics of how we got started working with PenMar Senior Solutions.
Okay. And what is it that you guys do, Bill? If you could explain it as succinctly as possible so that people kind of understand what services you offer, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, our mission basically is to help families solve one of the biggest challenges when it comes to um, one of their loved ones moving into the senior care. It's a very stressful situation for everybody involved. But basically, what we'll do is we'll purchase their house as is. They don't need to clean it out. They don't need to pay realtor fees. If they don't want to sell the house, we have a long list of people that we work with that maybe an auction company, maybe a senior um, care specialist at some of the local communities, or even elder attorneys like yourself. we can put them in contact. We have a whole list of people that we work with that we trust, and that's basically what we can do for them.
Well, I'm seeing it more and more. So, just from a legal perspective, we do a lot of planning for people who are either transitioning of their own choice into a long term care facility, or sometimes it's not really of their choice. There's been a medical emergency, there was a
Yeah.
hospital stay, and now
Yeah.
we're looking at some sort of long term care facility. And I'm seeing it more and more, especially around this area, because around here we have traditional nursing homes, but then we also have what we call CCRCs, continuing care retirement communities, or
Hmm.
sometimes they're called planned life communities.
Right.
And so it's a little bit different than a traditional long term care. So, traditional long term care, you can typically exempt a house and possibly apply for Medicaid and get benefits that way to pay for the long term care, especially if you have a spouse who's going to stay in the community. But
Mhm.
more and more, we're seeing situations where it might be a surviving spouse who isn't planning to return home. Or more and more, we're seeing people transition or kind of pivot into those CCRCs or planned life communities where there may be a buy in that's required. And
Right.
most of the time, they're getting that from the sale of the house. And so it's a question of how are we going to sell this,
Yeah.
especially as we're aging. There might be improvements that they would have to make if they were going to go through a realtor or pass certain inspections that they haven't maybe done updates to their house. And so they're always worried about that. So I
Hmm.
feel like we see it in two ways. So the first is, if we do have somebody going into more of those planned retirement communities and need that amount to buy in. And the difference there is usually that facility then provides the care through the entire continuum. So, whatever level, once you do that buy in, they'll provide the level of care. But normally, that buy in, people do have to liquidate or sell their house in order to have the funds to be able to do that. So, that's
Hmm.
one way that we're seeing it. And the second one is, like I said, where we have a surviving spouse who has no plans to return home and might want to be selling the house and trying to liquidate assets. Some
Right.
of it might be for Medicaid, some of it might just be for ease of distribution. So that's kind of legally what we're seeing. I'm wondering if you
Mhm.
also see the same thing on your side of the fence.
But yes, we are. I mean, there's so many different situations, um, but we've helped some individuals that the doctor had said you cannot go back home.
Mhm,
So within a week, we were able to settle on the house, get them paid so that they would have that money to move in to the
mhm.
community that they needed to move into.
Yes.
Um,
So it's such a wonderful service because there aren't a lot of companies out there who are doing this type of thing. So it's such a great service for the community. And I want people to know that you're out there. This is something that you guys do. I just don't think enough people know. So walk me
right.
through a little bit. If someone would need to go through this process, how do they go about, how do you guys go about? Do they have to meet certain criteria, certain things that you guys need in order for this to happen?
Well, there's no specific criteria that they need to. Um, and I guess let me ask you a question. Are you
Sure.
familiar with the cost versus value guide?
Ooh, so tell me more about that because I feel I know just enough to be dangerous.
Well, the cost versus value guide, it's there's a website, and if you do a search for cost versus value
Mhm,
and put in the year, for example, 2022,
mhm,
it'll come up and it gives you national averages of repair costs and then the amount that you're going to recuperate when you sell the house, or
okay.
basically the value that that repair is going to give
Mhm.
you. And
Now, Bill, I know that you sent me an attachment before.
yes,
So is this something I should right now we should be sharing it so we can
sure.
kind of
If
show.
if you
Okay.
can, that would be perfect.
Yeah, let's pull that up because I know you had emailed that to me. So does this look familiar? Did I pull up the right thing?
Yes, this is it.
Okay.
And you can see here, I have three areas highlighted. And this is for the Harrisburg area, the Harrisburg regional area that we're in. And the first highlighted area I have is a bathroom remodel.
Mhm.
And it's a mid range remodel, nothing fancy. And the average cost in the Harrisburg area is just under $26,000. But the resale value of that repair or renovation is only about $12,000.
That's
So you're
crazy.
It
Like,
is.
I don't know that I realized it until I'm looking at what you highlighted. Like, that's quite a big difference there. I mean, I know it's highlighted there as 45%, but I just didn't realize it was that large.
Right. And most people don't. And that's where a lot of people will think, well, we can have the house repaired and then we'll sell it.
Mhm.
But for the average homeowner having repairs done, you can see that they're basically losing money here.
Why is that? If you had to guess, why is there such a big difference between the cost versus the resale? Is that because materials are so expensive right now? Like, what is driving the big difference between the 2 columns there?
Well, there is the increase in the cost of goods for the repairs, and
Mhm.
the folks that are doing the repairs. But even though prices have increased quite a bit recent in the past couple of years, even before that, most repairs you were not going to increase the value enough to cover 100%
Mhm.
of the cost for those repairs.
Right. Well, I do know that when my dad, so when I sold my last house, one of the things he lectured me on, because I'm like, oh, we have to make it pretty, so that someone wants to buy it. I should repaint it. I should do this and that. And dad kept saying, you don't want to do that because the person who buys it's not going to have the same taste as you have and may not be wanting the same thing anyway. So you spend all of that money and that may not be what the new buyer would want. So, I mean,
This
that
is
was
true.
his philosophy as far
Yeah,
as to why I shouldn't repaint or do a lot of renovations. So,
right. Yeah,
in
and most people, when they move into a house, one of the first things they do is they
mhm,
repaint.
mhm,
Um, like you said, it's your taste is different than my taste. My taste is
mhm.
different than somebody else's.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
right.
Now talk to me a little because I know you have another thing highlighted on this page
Oh
too.
yeah.
So talk to me
My
about that.
minor kitchen repair or remodel. Again, mid range. We're looking at.
Minor would be what, Bill? So when we're talking about minor kitchen remodel, what would that entail? I'm doing what in my kitchen?
You could be replacing some cabinets, maybe the sink, countertop,
Mhm.
where you're not basically ripping everything completely out
Okay.
and then redoing the walls, redoing the plumbing. That would be more of a major type repair.
Gotcha. So it's a little
But
bit more cosmetic. So it could be that it was
yeah,
a kitchen that was done in the 1970s and it looks like it was done in the 1970s. So I'm thinking I should update it.
correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, here you're only just over $27,000. You're only getting about $20,000 of value back from that repair. So 72%. Um, so again, you're in all essence, you're losing money.
Mhm. Absolutely. So what bottom line is this telling me? If I were wanting to sell a house, I mean, I know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I probably shouldn't remodel anything. That's kind of what I'm deducing from this. But what bottom line should I be taking away from this chart?
Well, as a real estate professional, we have teams that we work with, so we're able to do these repairs at a less cost than the average homeowner.
Mhm.
Um, so, I mean, if somebody wants to do the repairs, that's fine. That's up to them. That's their choice. Um, but when it comes down to everything, and as we talk a little bit more, when we look at the whole process of selling a house, one of the things that differentiates us from using a realtor or a normal retail
Mhm.
sale is we can close quicker. Um, for
Mhm.
most people doing all of these repairs, if you're going to have the bathroom remodeled, the kitchen remodeled, that's not going to be done in a week or 2 weeks.
Right.
It's going
Right.
to take months, and it could take even longer, on
Mhm.
average about 6 months to get a house ready for
Mhm.
resale with renovations. But it could be even longer because of the supply chain issues that we have nowadays, or finding contractors that have enough people to be able to do the work
Mhm.
is another
Absolutely.
slowdown.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, as I'm looking down through this, two things that I think are worth pointing out. So the first is that the minor kitchen remodel is actually one of the higher cost recouping. Everything else is a lot or significantly less. The only things
Yes.
I see that would be more than that would be like a deck addition. So again, I think that just goes to show you when you're doing remodels of any type, you really need to compare what is the resale value, because it could be that it's not worth actually doing that repair and recouping the
Right.
money on that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is when I'm looking at the difference between, say, Harrisburg and the Middle Atlantic region, I mean, there's a little bit of difference, but it's not like if I were in the Middle Atlantic region, I'd be recouping a whole lot more. I mean, I think
Yeah.
across the board here, what we're seeing is that you just aren't able to recover the investment that you put into these remodels.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that was a fair summary of it, because I like numbers. I feel like numbers say a lot without
Yes.
actually being noisy about it. So I find this very helpful. Is there anything else? Should I slide down, Bill? Is there anything else
Uh,
on here that
you
would be
you can
helpful?
slide down a little bit. The third one that I've highlighted there is a garage door replacement.
Mhm.
According to this list, that's where you're going to recuperate the majority of
Interesting.
the money.
Mhm.
92%, but still, it's not 100%. It's not increasing the value of that home more than what you're putting into it.
Right. Right. That is so interesting. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing this.
Okay.
So I guess that leads me to my next question, which is, does a family need to do anything to the house prior to selling it?
No, they don't. Um,
Okay.
Basically, just contact us.
And if it were something where somebody reached out to you and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, you would be able to say, "Ugh, I probably wouldn't do that. You're not going to be able to recover the cost to do that.
Right, I
Like, is
would,
it something where you could kind of direct them that way?
right, I would show them the same exact document, and you know, I would check to see if it's been updated, if the numbers have been updated at all. But I would show it to them and let them make their own decision.
Hmm.
I would recommend in most cases against it, but it the bottom line is their choice. But at least
Hmm.
I'm providing them the information so they can make more of an informed decision.
Right. And
Yeah.
I do think, and maybe this is coming from a female perspective, but we do have a lot of elderly widows,
Mhm.
husbands have passed away. And so, I would look at that and be like, oh my goodness, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. I wouldn't even know who to contact to do that. I don't know the contractors who would do a good job. And even if I know of contractors, I don't know enough. If they would come in and quote something and say, we needed to do this and this and this and this, I wouldn't know enough to know, is this a legitimate thing I need to update? Is this a reasonable cost? I mean, most
Right.
of the time when I'm making decisions like this, I call my dad and I say, does this sound right to you?
Right.
So I also think, just as I'm thinking about our clients and kind of the people that we serve, I mean, it's both men and women,
Mhm.
but I think especially when we have females who are aging, who don't have a husband anymore who was taking care of all those decisions, it can be very stressful trying to make
Yeah.
decisions that revolve around remodels, repairs, and then to have somebody coming into your home. It's also a safety concern. Like, I
Yeah.
understand when women say, I don't feel comfortable having them in my house. So I feel like this is a very stress-free alternative. At this
Mhm.
point, they wouldn't have to do any of that. They could just contact you and you would kind of take over at that point, and they
Right.
wouldn't have to worry about that, right?
Correct. Yeah, and
Okay.
and this is one of the ways that separates us from a normal retail sale or
Mhm.
using a realtor
Right.
is, everybody knows a realtor.
Mhm.
And if you tell a realtor, "Hey, I need to sell my house," what do? They come out to your house, they look at it, and they say, "Okay, I need you to clean all this stuff out, get it
Right.
cleaned up. You need to fix the kitchen. The
Mhm.
kitchen's outdated. You need to
Mhm.
fix the bathroom. You need to paint all the walls.
Mhm.
You need to fix the awning, clean up the
Right.
driveway, the yard." Where we'll come in and we'll buy it as is. You can take the items that you want. Anything you don't want, just leave. We have teams that can take care of all of that. So this is just something that sets us apart. But
Mhm.
the whole process of using a realtor generally is going to take 3 to 6 months to get the repairs done, provided that you can
Mhm.
find a contractor to do them and get the materials in,
Right.
and then you'll get the money.
Mhm.
After it's going to take 3 to 6 months to get it on the market, and
Mhm.
then once you find a buyer, the buyer may need 30, 45 days before they can
Absolutely.
purchase it because they have to get approved for the loan.
Absolutely, and sometimes that is a huge hangup. It's
It,
contingent maybe on them either selling another piece of property or getting the
yes,
financing for it. Absolutely.
correct. Where, we can settle in as little as a week, or what's even better with us is we can settle when the family needs us to settle.
Mhm.
If they need
Yeah,
to settle next week, we can do that. If they're in the planning stages, working with someone like yourself, well, we don't need to sell it until next February. Okay,
right.
well, let's work with you. Let's get everything, help you do what you need to do, and then next February when you need to sell it, we can talk about it then.
Yeah. And so I think too, again, it's just getting the information, the knowledge out there. Cause I think that primarily people think of when they sell a house, they kind of have two main options. So to going the realtor option, which, then you're dealing with maybe some inspections that you have to deal with, financing, all of that we just talked about.
Mhm.
And then the other alternative that people usually think of is an auction. Where they might be
Correct.
auctioning their house.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is kind of bringing those two worlds and kind of bringing them together because the issue I see with an auction is sometimes it's only as good as the people who are there bidding on it.
Right.
So the value of the house can either go high or low depending on who's there that day bidding on it.
Correct.
And you can ask to hold a reserve, but the reality is that means the house might not get sold when you want it to be sold. So I feel like this is kind of taking those two ideas and bringing them together a little bit in the sense that it
Mhm.
allows you a little bit more control to dictate when you do it. It gives you a little bit more control as to the process by which you're going to do it. And so I like that option for clients. I think as long as it makes the client feel comfortable and they are aware of all the different options that are at their fingertips, I always think it makes for a better decision when you can make an informed decision that feels comfortable with what you need in your life. And so I think this is a great service. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
and we
Go
do
ahead.
too, and I said we do too, and that's why one of the reasons that we got into this is to help people.
Yes. Now, talk to me a little bit about. I know you and I have talked kind of off camera about the major stressors for families needing to move a loved one into a long term care facility. And I know that you had said that you had a demonstration that might help kind of bring this point home.
Yes. Okay, let me get it set up here real quick.
Ooh, I like it. It looks all
Okay.
scientific, Bill.
Well, it kind of is, and it in a sense it has numbers in it like you like.
Yeah, I
So
love it.
this container here represents
Mhm.
a 2,000 square foot home with
Okay.
all the stuff that's in it.
Yep.
This represents a 200 square foot room, which is generally the size. It's actually
Yes.
the average size that somebody's going to move into a long term care facility
Okay.
community.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the big stressors is, what are we going to do with all
Mhm.
the stuff?
Yeah.
The-
How do we decide what we're taking, what we're not taking? And then if we're not taking it, how do we get rid of the stuff? Yeah.
Correct. So the family has to decide, okay, we have that 200 square foot house. What are we going to take? Yeah. So
Oh, geez.
and this is
Bill.
this. Well, what are they going to do with all the stuff? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, can we take 20 canes, from our cane
Yes.
collection? What are we going to do?
I'm getting
So,
overwhelmed just watching all of those things pour out.
well, and and again, this is one of the things that differentiates us from a retail sale
Mhm.
is we tell them, take what you want and we'll take care of the rest.
Oh, that is so nice. Yes. Yes, because that is such a big stressor. So I feel like even if I was able to sit down and figure out what I wanted to take, stressing about how to get rid of the other stuff, like I would overthink everything, second guess everything. So if I had somebody that could come in and get rid of what I don't need to be taking, then I'm just taking what I need with me, which is
Right.
huge.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That is a very powerful demonstration because I think too often, I hear it too often. Clients will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, I've been meaning to go through my house for years. We've lived there for over 30 years. I've been meaning to go through it." And I know because when my one aunt passed away and my mom and I went through her house, it took us weeks to go through it because
Yes.
she had stuff everywhere and we felt like somebody had to go through it. And my mom was taking on the brunt of that responsibility and that stress, but it was so overwhelming. I cannot imagine doing that while also trying to navigate the whole, what facility do we pick? Let's navigate these new medical
Mhm.
decisions that we have to make. It's just too much to be doing all at once.
It is. And most people nowadays, most families don't live right together.
No.
So most kids are about 600 miles, on average, 600 miles away from their parents.
Yes.
So they're going to, and a lot of people think, oh, well, we'll go home next weekend and we'll get the house cleaned out. And like you said, it's more than a weekend job in most
No.
cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know even in my family, like I have a sister that lives in North Carolina. Like I live near my parents, but let's be honest, I work a lot. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to be overly helpful, trying to clean out a house. And I think that's the other thing is that even if you are local, are you really going to either take a leave of absence to deal with this? Are you taking time
Hmm.
off to deal with this? It's just such a monumental task that I
Right.
don't think you realize until you're having to go through it. So even if
Yeah.
you do have people local, which like you said, we're seeing more and more families spread out
Hmm.
now. But even if you are local, who wants to take that time off? And even if you are taking time off, Bill, you might be taking somebody to hospitals, doctors' offices.
Yeah.
You don't have the time to be going through a house.
You're right. You don't. And I know
So,
I've only lived in my house about 12, 13 years,
mhm.
and I have way more stuff than I need.
Right? We just
And
accumulate that. That's what we do
yes,
as people. We just accumulate this stuff and
right.
then it's overwhelming when someone else has to go through it.
It
For
is.
sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think too, so often clients will say, I have these heirlooms or these family things that have been passed down. More often than not, the kids get in there and they're so overwhelmed and they just don't want to have to take the time to figure out what's valuable and what's not. And so they end up just taking everything and being like, we're done with it. And I feel like they miss that aspect of it, where if they could
Yeah.
take the time, go through, and then not have to worry about all of the other stuff accumulating in the house, then
Right.
they can focus on the things that matter.
Right. And that's our whole thing is take the things that matter to your family,
Mm.
leave the rest, we'll take care of it.
Yes. So talk to me a little bit about fees. Do you guys charge a fee to do this? How do you guys go about doing this as far as payment?
There is no fee.
Okay.
Again, this is another way that sets us apart from a normal retail sale or using a realtor is when we purchase the home, you're not going to pay realtor fees.
Okay. So
Um,
no percentage. Like normally there's like a 6% that you're dealing
Correct.
with.
Yeah.
Okay.
No fees with us. Basically, what we'll do in most cases when we purchase a home, we put it into our rental portfolio,
Okay.
and we'll fix it up and then rent it out to somebody that's looking for a home to live in.
Mhm. Okay. Well, that's good for people to know too, because I think so often people are like, "Why? Maybe I don't have the cash in hand, or I need to sell the house anyway in order to be
Mhm.
able to be paying for some of these things." So to
Right.
know that there's not a fee, that it just you kind of take it into your portfolio, I think is very helpful for people to know.
Right.
And I know you talked about it a little bit at the offset, but how long have you guys been doing this?
We've been doing this since 2018. That's when we
Okay.
first started getting into having rental property.
Hmm.
Trying to provide quality rental property for people that just want to rent rather than
Hmm.
own. There's a lot of people that they don't want to be a homeowner; they just want to rent.
Hmm.
And nowadays, it's getting harder and harder to find rental
It is.
property to
Absolutely.
rent.
Hmm.
There's long waiting lists. But then in 2019, we started to branch out a little bit more, trying to find creative ways for distressed homeowners, those that found themselves in some sort of financial constraints, um, possibly losing their home, finding creative ways that we could purchase the home from them so that they didn't have to go through that foreclosure process or
Hmm.
lose their home. helping them out to keep their credit in good standing.
Mhm.
And then, that's sort of progressed to where we are today, helping seniors out.
Okay. Yeah, so I like that. It's not I feel like this is something you guys kind of worked your way into. You were
Yes,
kind of were doing something and then recognized that there was a market that people needed this service.
right.
So how can a family get in contact with you and what is the process for them to go about doing that?
Well, there's numerous different ways to get in contact with us. Basically, anybody that knows the family situation can contact us on the family's behalf,
Mhm.
and make sure that the family gives permission for us to contact them. But it could be family, friends, elder care attorneys, placement agents, downsizing move out companies, realtors, even.
Mhm.
They're basically anybody that knows the situation of the family can contact us. But they can also call us. Our phone number is 717 794 7944.
Mhm.
They can also send us an email, bill@penmarsenior.solutions.com.
Okay. And I know you
Or,
guys also have a website, right, Bill?
yes, they can go to
Okay.
our website, penmarsenior.solutions.com. And if they go to our website, we'll have a small form to fill out with their basic information. They can provide us a little bit of information about the house that they're thinking about selling or want to sell, and we'll get in contact with them. But even better, going to our website, they can download a copy of the book, Paying for Long-Term Care.
Mhm. Great. And it's great. So I read through it. It's a fantastic, it gives a lot of great information. So I feel like it's a good resource for anybody to have. Absolutely.
Yes.
And what we will do is we'll put your contact number, your email, as well as your website information in the
Okay.
description of our YouTube video. So anybody who wants to be able to see that out in writing, we'll make sure to put that in our description.
Okay. Great.
Is there anything more you wanted to say about the book? Because I know it had a lot of different topics in it. Did you want to go over what some of those things were?
Well, yeah, some of the areas, options for funding your long-term care, how to evaluate staying at home versus moving into a care community, understanding the different options that are available,
Mhm.
um, how to strategize for a successful transition, um, safety for your loved ones, their companionship, and then it talks some about the emotional journey of the whole process.
Mhm.
Hopefully, if nothing else, people can download the book and get one or two pieces of valuable information for themselves, and then it's all worth it.
What I liked about it, Bill, is that 'cause I think too often attorneys in this area use a lot of legal and technical words, and it can get a little bit overwhelming. And so I liked that the book did not have a whole lot of legalese. I mean, when you needed to refer to things legal, you did, but
Right,
otherwise, it's kind of told in more of a layman's way,
right,
without all of the legal gobbledygook that can sometimes happen when you're looking at like something that an attorney has done. So I did
sure.
like that, it does offer that. So this is a copy of the book right here. So you can download that on your website and we'll make sure that there's a link there so that people can do that.
Okay.
Now, once you would purchase the home, what's the time frame of settlement? And I know you briefly mentioned it, but I wanted to highlight this because I feel like this is important for people to know.
Right, and again, this is something another thing that sets us apart from using a realtor or a regular retail sale is, and we had mentioned before, a lot of times the buyer is going to need 30, 45 days to get approved for the loan or sell the current
Mhm.
house that they're in, where we can settle in as little as a week. But more importantly, we can settle when the family needs us to settle.
Right. Which I think is so important because you're right. Sometimes you're planning way far ahead.
Right,
Hopefully that's the goal is that people are planning far ahead. And then
right,
sometimes you don't have that ability because it's happening quickly. There was a medical
right. Yes.
emergency. Absolutely. Do you contact the long term care facilities?
Yes, as a senior transition specialist, we network with the senior living communities. Um, we try to help advance the different stages of readiness for their potential residents, but also we try to surround the families with all the information that they need so that they can make informed decisions.
Absolutely. And I think that's important. I think here, when we're in such a smaller community, it's good that everybody can kind of connect with each
Yeah,
other, whether it be you with the facilities, us with you. Having all of those connections in the community can be really powerful for clients.
right.
Absolutely. Now, how about where do you guys focus your energy? Do you only work in Franklin County?
But no, we work throughout Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, but more importantly, we have contacts in all 50 states. So
Okay.
if you were working with somebody who had a house, let's say in Arizona, I have
Which happens
contacts.
more often than we ever thought. But
Yes,
yes.
but I have contacts in all 50 states.
Okay, that is good because it seems like more we have people that might be moving to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a very attractive state for elders to retire to because, as you know, hopefully, everybody who is dealing with retirement knows that retirement is not taxed in Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania is one of the states that we see a lot of people as they age migrate to.
Mm,
So we're seeing it more and more where people are coming to Pennsylvania and they're looking for long-term care here in Pennsylvania. And they do it for a lot of the tax benefits. So they
mm,
might have a house, whether it be in another county in Pennsylvania, it could be in a completely different state.
right,
So when we actually had somebody move from Washington State, which is probably one of the biggest moves I've seen, they would have come
well,
all the way across the country. So it's nice that you do have those other connections.
right.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell us a little bit more, because I know that there's a big difference between how you guys function with how realtors function. So can you just talk me through that? So you guys aren't actually realtors,
We are
correct?
correct. We are not realtors. And some of the responses that I made earlier, you would think, well, Bill doesn't like realtors. That's not the case at all. I work with a realtor almost on a weekly basis. We have
Mhm.
realtors on our team, but basically, and realtors, they serve a great need. And but basically, their process, like we had talked about before, they're going to tell you all the things you need to do to fix up the house before it's retail ready.
Mhm.
We're going to tell you we'll buy it as is. You don't need to clean it out. Just take what you want and we'll take care of the rest. Basically, love your loved ones. Let us take care of the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, kind of prioritize
Yes.
that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you get referrals from realtors?
Occasionally we do. Yes. Yeah.
I would think so, because again, when you don't have to worry about like inspections, improvements, all
Mhm.
things are trying to be done quickly, I could see where it would be a situation where they would want to refer to you.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about Bill, why you want to be doing this. Why is it important to you?
Well, I like helping people. Um,
Mhm.
whether I was, coaching baseball, football, wrestling, or helping somebody cross the street. You get a good feeling inside when you help somebody. And in this case, here as a senior transition specialist, helping seniors get moved into a long term care community, um, it's a good feeling helping them out.
Mhm.
And even if we don't buy the house from them, if we're able to help them a little bit, we still get that good feeling.
Mhm.
But also, nowadays, most people don't take the time to get to know other people.
Mhm.
And I've met so many super interesting people. People are fascinating. If you take the time to hear their story, the things that they've done in their past, particularly seniors, because they've lived through a lot of different decades. A lot of things have happened, but it's just amazing at some of the things that people have done, and just
Mhm.
hearing their stories. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Well, I did a piece because I have two nieces, 12 and 13 now. And we did like a segment where they asked questions. And one of their questions was, what's the best part of your job? And it sounds ridiculous to say, but it's just that moment of realizing that somebody's getting it, that we're able to help somebody, that,
Mhm.
we're making an impact in people's lives. And I feel like with your job, you probably see that a lot too.
Right.
It's a high stress situation. Normally there's a lot of medical things happening, and just being able to offer a little bit of relief for a family,
Mhm.
or offering some sort of solution to a family, is really a great feeling. I'm sure for
Yeah.
them as well as for those of us that are on the helping side of things,
Mhm.
it's great to be able to give back in that way. And so I
Right.
think that that's a great service. Absolutely.
Mhm.
What else, Bill? Is there anything else you would like to add about what you guys do?
We're here to help. Like I said before, if it's just giving them a list of names to help them through the process, that's fine with us. We're here to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, we're going to make sure to put Bill's website, his email, and his contact number in the description of our YouTube video. So we'll make sure to do that. That will be posted on our YouTube channel under the Partnering with the Pros. And then we'll post that across our social media platforms. This is a copy of the book that you can get if you go to his website. So we encourage everybody to take a look at that. And this was Bill McCann. He's a senior transition specialist with PenMar Senior Solutions. Bill, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. We really appreciate all that you're doing. And thanks for reaching out. It's not often that I get someone from the community that reaches out and says, hey, I have this service that we're offering that I feel like would go really well with your clients. And I felt like this was a perfect way to be able to help more people. And so I appreciate you reaching out.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for having me on and talking about the services that we can provide.
Absolutely. And if anybody has any questions for Bill or wants to reach out, like I said, we'll have the information in our description. We can also make sure to forward any questions or calls to Bill that we get to our office. So we'll make sure, Bill, that we'll have your information in our reception area too for clients to be able to look over and use as well. So this
Okay.
was Bill McCann, like I said, with PenMar Senior Solutions. Thank you so much, Bill. We appreciate it.
Thank you.